welcome Rita Rudner.
Thank you very much. It's very exciting to be here. I can't believe how fast the time goes, though. I mean, my last special, I just got married. And now we just celebrated our 2nd anniversary. Oh, thank you, yes. Applause for 2 years. Thank you very much. Most places, people aren't that impressed, you know. I say I've been married for 2 years. People say, good. Except, of course, in Hollywood, when I say I've been married for 2 years. And people say, what's your secret? There, a marriage is a success if it outlasts milk. It's a terrible place, Hollywood. It is, don't go. When you meet a guy there, the first question you ask yourself is, I don't know. Is this the man I want my children to spend their weekends with? Things are going very well with us. My husband, he gave me this necklace for our anniversary. It's fake. And I requested fake. I did, because maybe I'm paranoid, but in this day and age, I just don't want anything around my neck that's worth more than my head. I have a safety deposit box, but since I don't have any good jewelry, I keep something else in there that means quite a lot to me. I made this omelet once that flipped over perfectly. I can't believe we're in the 1990s already, either. Boy, the 90s are a very special decade for me because they're my last fertile decade. And I still don't know what to do. My husband and I, we've been discussing it so far. We're either going to get a dog or have a child. We haven't quite decided if we want to ruin our carpet or ruin our lives. And it gets harder to have children when you get older. Not only having them, but naming them. Because by the time you're in your 30s, every name you think of reminds you of someone you hate. We have to hurry. We're down to Jethro and Nefertiti. And I'm an only child. I don't have any idea about babies. I was over at my friend's house, and her baby was crying. Well, not really crying, more screaming. I'd never heard a noise quite like this. It was a mating call to a car alarm. And I just asked my friend, the baby's what, a month old? What could be that wrong? It hasn't been outside yet. She said, he's hungry. I thought, that's the noise he makes when he's hungry? He better pace himself. What kind of noise is he going to make when he gets audited? And all my friends have children, every one of them, and they all tell me what they go through. It's scary. One of my friends told me she was in labor for 36 hours. I know. I don't even want to do anything that feels good for 36 hours. I think kangaroos have a good deal. I like that pouch setup. I'd have a baby if it would mature in a handbag. And I'm always going to all these big birthday parties that my friends make for their kids. One of my friends made a great big surprise party for her child. He's 1. We all snuck in around the crib. We jumped up, we yelled, surprise! He was surprised. He's in therapy. I had the worst birthday party ever when I was a child because my parents hired a pony to give rides. And these ponies are never in good health. But this one dropped dead. It just wasn't much fun after that. One kid would sit on him and the rest of us would drag him around in a... But I always think the worst things, you know, like I was asking my friend who has children, what if I have a baby and I dedicate my life to it and it grows up and it hates me and it blames everything that's wrong with its life on me? And my friend said, oh, Rita, don't be silly. What do you mean, what if? You just never know what type of child you're getting. They have their own personalities immediately. I was watching little kids on a carousel, teeny little kids. Some kids were jumping on the horses. Some kids were afraid of the horses. Some kids were betting on the horses. And I wouldn't want a kid who was like me because I was just so shy when I was growing up. Well, worse than shy. I was boring. I was. Whenever we played doctor, the other children always made me the anesthesiologist. Really, all I had were two friends, and they were imaginary. And they would only play with each other. I was nice, though. I was the only one in my class who would seesaw with the fat kid. Well, we didn't really seesaw, though. We kind of just seed. I'd get on, and then she'd get on. And then the fire department would get me out of the tree. You know, it was a very, very tricky time for me, Halloween, because all my life my parents said, never take candy from strangers. And then they dressed me up and said, now go beg for it. I didn't know what to do, really. I'd knock on people's doors. I'd go, trick or treat. No, thank you. My parents were great, though. They never wanted me to be upset about anything. They couldn't tell me when a pet had died. I remember once I woke up and my goldfish was gone. And I said, Mom, where's Fluffy? She said, he ran away. It was embarrassing. I offered a reward. My friends were stupid. They looked for him. Whenever anything went wrong in my life, my mom always had the same saying. She'd say over and over, all things happen for the best. And I'd always say, who's best? And she'd say, gotta go. There's really only one way to describe my mother. There's a very old saying, I don't know if you've heard it. Neurotics build castles in the air and psychotics live in them. Yes? Well, my mother cleans them. My dad's a good guy. He's smart. Well, he's too smart. When you're too smart, it goes around in a little circle and gets stupid again. Because he's absent-minded. You know, he used to do things like when I was a little kid, he'd throw me up in the air and answer the phone. And he's a doctor with the worst handwriting. And don't they all have horrible handwriting? How does anyone ever know what they mean? He wrote me a note once excusing me from gym class. I gave it to my teacher. She gave me all of her money. My mom's been nagging my dad to take up a sport, so he took up bird watching. He's very serious about it, really. He bought binoculars and a bird. My parents have a very good marriage, though. They've been together forever. They've passed their gold and silver anniversaries. Their next one is rust. My mom's always trying to figure out new ways to keep excitement in their marriage. She took up belly dancing once. In order to make it appear like she was moving, my dad and I had to jiggle the furniture in back of her. Good advice for me about how to stay married for a long time, though. She said, always remember honesty is very important. It must be avoided. And the most important thing is you have to let your husband be himself, and you have to pretend he's someone else. I love being married. I really do. It's so great to find that one special person that you want to annoy for the rest of your life. I made a terrible mistake on our honeymoon, though. You know what I did? I beat my husband at tennis on our honeymoon. I just came right out afterwards and asked him, are we ever going to have sex again? And he said yes, but not with each other. My husband's from England, and I watched a football game with him once, and that was lots of fun because he's from England, so he had never seen a football game before. So I could tell him anything I wanted. I told him it was over at halftime. We do go back a lot to England. In fact, we were there last 4th of July. Not a big holiday there. They're still a little testy. And I have a friend who's originally from Brooklyn who moved to London 10 years ago, and it was so strange because I called her up and she used to talk like this. And now she talks like this. Of course, she slips every once in a while. She said, oh, you must come over for a spot of coffee. I'd love for you to meet my husband, Vincent. Yo, Vinny! We had a terrible problem with immigration. We had to wait 6 months for my husband to get an appointment for an interview for a green card. And we went down to the immigration building, and we had to prove we were married, and we'd forgotten our marriage certificate. I looked at him. I said, I thought you brought it. He said, I thought you brought it. I said, I took it out of the filing cabinet, put it next to your keys. He said, well, why didn't you continue the thought and take it on into the car? And the lady said, oh, forget it. You're married. I was single for a very long time. Before I met my husband, I'd never fallen in love. I'd stepped in it a few times. I was always meeting men who weren't right for me. That's why I feel that after you've dated someone, it should be legal to stamp them with what's wrong with them. So the next person doesn't have to start from scratch. Meeting men who didn't want to get involved. That's what was happening. I dated one guy for about 2 years. Finally, I just gave him an ultimatum. I said, listen, either you tell me your name or it's over. You know how I used to end relationships? I'd never say, this isn't working out, or I don't want to see you anymore. If I never wanted to see a man again, I'd just say, you know, I love you. I want to marry you. I want to have your children. Sometimes they'd leave skid marks. The worst thing about breaking up with someone was always when they wanted to stay your friend. Why do they want to do that? Why can't they get lost? This one guy used to call me up all the time. I'd say, look, I don't have anything to tell you. He'd say, just tell me the same things you tell your friends. So I told him how horrible he was. I do think men should be married, though, because men don't live well by themselves. They don't. They don't even live like people. They live like bears with furniture. I know. I used to go over to my husband's cave. Nothing on the wall, except for some food. The frost was so thick in the freezer, you couldn't close the door. The apartment door. The roaches in his kitchen had stopped eating. They were full. They were on the counter doing aerobic exercise. I can't describe the bathroom to you. It was too disgusting, but I'll try. No, all I have to say about men and bathrooms is they're not real specific. It seems if they hit something, they're happy. Not that I'm good domestically at all around the house. I hate anything like that. I hate doing laundry. I don't separate my colors from my whites. I put them together. I let them learn from their cultural differences. I'm not a good cook. I hate cooking. I'm feeling guilty, so I bought one of those slow cookers, and I'm making dinner now for the year 2000. They have different settings, fast, medium, and slow. I have it on Mosey. I've been reading recipes. I think that's a start. You know, I've been reading baking recipes, though, and they scare me, because I don't know what a lot of those ingredients are. What is cream of tartar? I hope it's not what I think it is. And how come when you mix water and flour together, you get glue? And then you add eggs and sugar, and you get cake. Where does the glue go? I spend sleepless nights worrying about baking soda. Do you know about baking soda? It can do anything. It puts out fires. You can brush your teeth with it. It's a deodorant. It's an antacid. Is it Sybil? We do go out to eat a lot in restaurants. My favorite are Chinese restaurants. I love Chinese food. I have my own chopsticks. They have my initials on the top and Velcro on the bottom. We both gained weight after we got married, so we went on diets together. Isn't that cute? Well, he started to lose weight, and I didn't. I had to feed him in his sleep intravenously. We've always had a weight problem. My dad is waiting to buy new clothes till he loses weight, so he's still wearing his Cub Scout uniform. And I've been trying to get my husband to exercise, but he hates it. He says he's good at water sports, but I don't feel it's a water sport. Shaving. And he's not good at it. He's not. He goes into the bathroom. He's a man with a slight stubble. He comes out of the bathroom. He's a victim of a shark attack. And he uses an electric razor. Now, I swim because it's very good exercise and it's hard to hurt yourself. The most dangerous part of swimming for a woman is trying on a bathing suit. You're liable to kill yourself. Isn't it horrible? Men don't know what we go through. So I'm going to tell them. Because we do it to look good for men. That's why we wear those skimpy little things. I mean, if it were up to us, we'd wear bathing suits that had feet. We go into these little cells with mirrors every place and very cruel lighting. So we can see exactly what's wrong with our body from every conceivable angle. I think after you leave those rooms, they should offer you some type of counseling. Or at least have a sticker on the mirror that says, "Caution, objects in mirror may appear larger." I exercise and I still don't look anything like those women in Playboy. I think they get them from other planets. I hope so. I don't want them here. This one girl I saw, she was amazing. And I don't think she had silicone. I think she had helium. She was so big I couldn't keep the magazine closed. And my old boyfriend used to say, "I read Playboy for the articles." I used to say, "Right, I go to shopping malls for the music." I do like shopping malls. I have to confess that to you. Well, I'm very at home in them because my mother lost me in a mall when I was very young. And I was raised by saleswomen. They're making malls so big now. Aren't there trees in them and birds? Birds live in the mall. They do. It must be a strange life for them, don't you think? When going south for the winter means flying over to Sears. One time I used to love to shop was after a bad relationship. I'd go and I'd buy a new outfit. It would just make me feel better. In fact, sometimes if I'd see a really great outfit, I'd break up with someone on purpose. Once I saw a great outfit and I wasn't dating anyone. So I went up and hugged a stranger and slapped him and bought it. The cliche is true, though. Men like cars and women like clothes. I only like cars because they take me to clothes. I went into this one dress shop. It was very exclusive. I didn't know how exclusive it was. I walked in, and I didn't know you had to call ahead before you went there. I went in, the salesman looked at me and said, "Do you have an appointment?" I said, "No." "Do the dresses have something else to do today?" I do spend too much money on clothes. My last credit card bill was so big before I opened it, I actually heard a drum roll. I used to worry about not paying my bills, but then I read about Chapter 11. Do you know about Chapter 11? You don't have to pay anyone off and you don't go to jail. What's Chapter 12? Run like hell? But women, we spend lots of money on clothes because our whole identities are wrapped up in what we wear. You never see a man go into a party and say, "Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. Quick, get me out of here before someone sees me. There's another man wearing a black tuxedo. They're happy. If they all look alike, it means they haven't made a mistake. And I'm not being sexist, because men just don't have the patience for shopping. They don't. That's why in department stores, the men's department is always on the first floor, 2 inches from the door. My husband likes to help me pick out, so he wanted me to try on a leather dress. He thought they were sexy. I showed him. I never had a leather dress on before. You know, it wasn't until then that I realized how uncomfortable cows must be. That moo is really a cry for help. And he tried to make me not get this dress I really wanted once. You know how he did it? He said, okay, buy it if you want, but it reminds me of the kind of thing my old girlfriend used to like. I bought it just so she couldn't have it. I never know what to buy for other people, though. I'm bad at that. I've given up on my father. Last year, on his birthday, I just gave him $100 and said, buy yourself something that will make your life easier. So he went out and bought a present for my mother. My mom's good at that. She gave us the most beautiful wedding present. It was this plant that she'd grown from a seedling. She's so good at this. She gave it to me. It was this big, blooming, beautiful bush. 2 weeks with me, and it was a corsage. I have no talent in that direction. I've killed so many plants. I walked into a plant nursery once, and my face was on a wanted poster. And I never know what to get for my husband. Last Christmas, well, first of all, I should tell you, I'm Jewish, but I celebrate Christmas, and I'm going to do that till the Jewish people can decide on a way to spell Hanukkah. And we were never religious. We always had a Christmas tree. But if any of my religious friends came over, we'd say, it's not a Christmas tree. It's a Hanukkah bush, right? And they'd say, well, all right then. Who's that in the manger? We'd say, Jaime. They'd say, and who are those 3 men standing behind him? We'd say, his lawyers. So last Christmas, I did something I thought was so clever because my husband likes massages. I booked a masseuse to come to the house. Wasn't that a good idea? Yes, I thought so too, till the doorbell rang and I opened it, and there was an 18-year-old blonde girl standing there. And she said, I'm here to give your husband a massage. And I said, he's dead. You just get more confident when you're married. You think differently. When you're single and you don't hear from your boyfriend, you think, should I call him? When you're married and you don't hear from your husband, you think, what should I call him? My husband's gotten more relaxed too, though. He's become the worst hypochondriac. I bought him one of those thermometers that you wear on your head that changes colors. Have you seen those? He loves it. He bought shoes to match. He doesn't get headaches anymore, my husband. He gets brain tumors. And he won't go to the doctor. He'll just ask me, what do you think I should take for a brain tumor? I give him baking soda. We just got a new house in Los Angeles. We made so many mistakes. First thing we did, we hired the vegetarian moving company. They were too weak to lift anything. We got something my husband always wanted, an electric garage door. I guess it's a feeling of power. Because he drives up the driveway, he presses the clicker, the garage door opens halfway. Presses the clicker again, and it closes. $600, we need a car that can limbo. I always thought one of the really great things about being married and living in a house was that if you were asleep and you heard a noise in the backyard, you'd have someone there to protect you. Someone who would run to the closet and grab a gun and go to the window and say, "Get off my land, I'll blow your head off." Well, my husband's English, so it was a little different. We were asleep, and we heard a noise in the backyard, and my husband ran to the closet and grabbed his dressing gown, went to the window and said, "Hello?" I said, "Really scare him. Invite him in for some tea." I had to be the heavy. I had to be the one to deal with the workmen around the house because nothing was finished when we moved in. And I didn't know, but sometimes workmen can have real attitudes. They can. The painter came in. I was very nice. I said, "Could you fill in some of these holes before you start, please?" He looked at me and said, "Lady, I don't spackle. I don't sand. I don't tape. I just paint." Then the exterminator came in. I said, "Kill the painter." And we had mice in the basement. I had to go get this jar of poison to put down there. Well, you know, everything comes with this tamper-resistant seal on it now. The tamper-resistant seal had been broken. I didn't know whether or not to buy the poison. Such a strange world. Someone could have slipped some aspirin in there. And we did some remodeling, and that's when I learned the most dangerous word in the English language. You know what it is? It's not murder, or mortgage, or cholesterol. The most dangerous word in the English language is estimate. When anyone says estimate to you, just run. And don't look back. Because estimate basically means Chapter 11. To try to decorate the house, and I'm not qualified. What do I know about decorating? You know, I'm a comedian. I've been living in motels on the road for 6 years. My living room, I have 2 double beds in it. I've nailed my lamp to my dresser. And you know what I never knew? I've never known how high to hang a picture. So I asked someone, and you know what they said? Eye level. My husband's 6'2", and I'm 5'6". We have 2 hooks depending on who's home. And I don't know if I want to put a fuzzy cover on my toilet seat. I've been trying to decide. I know I want to meet whoever invented them. I want to see who looked at a toilet and thought, that needs a hat. We don't argue too much. My husband and I, I have a bad memory for phone numbers. That's one of the things we fight about. But I have a problem with phone numbers. I don't think that if you're just 1 digit off, you should get a whole other person. If you're that close, you should at least get someone who knows where they are. And our other argument is how long it takes to get ready to go out. Yes, because this is how he goes out. I'm going out. Come on, come on. I have things I have to do to myself before I leave the house. In front of the man I want to attract, I can look disgusting. In front of people I'm never going to see again, I have to look my best. So my husband has this new strategy. He says, okay, I'll be waiting for you in the car. He thinks this is going to make me hurry up. This just leaves me time to call my friends. But it's okay because he's happy in his car because he loves his car. He does. He has a special relationship with it. It makes noises that only he can hear. We'll be driving along in the street and he'll say, there. There's the rattle. You hear it? And I don't hear it. I want to hear it. I try to hear it. Once I lied and said I heard it. He said, no, that's not it. And he likes to wait till the last second to put gas in the car, and it drives me crazy. Once we were driving along, we were so low on gas, I didn't know what to do. I turned off the radio. And my car has what I thought was an optional feature, but I guess it's a standard because it was on my last car too. It has a rotating gas tank. Whatever side of the pump I pull up onto, it's on the other side. And I hate self-service gas stations so much. You know, I'll pay my own bills, I'll open my own doors. Don't make me pump my own gas. It's awful. I was all dressed up once going to this formal affair and ran out of gas and I had to pull over and it was all self-service. I was standing there in the middle of the night in an evening gown, pumping gas. I looked like the gas fairy. And when my husband and I were in the car together, I usually let him drive. Because when I drive, he has a tendency to bite the dashboard. Because I haven't been driving that long, so I'm still nervous when people honk at me. Unless I'm making a left turn, then I like it, because that's how I know it's time to turn. I drive slowly, and I'll admit that. I do once I actually got behind someone who drove more slowly than I did. We began to back up. And of course, he likes to go fast. You know, his car goes from 0 to 60 in 10 seconds. That makes him happy. I just don't know why he'd ever want to do that. Maybe someday he'll find an open stretch of road and play frisbee with himself. When we go on trips, I get 2 jobs in the car. These jobs could sound familiar to the women in the audience. I get to read the map, yeah, and I get to get out and ask for directions after we get lost. Because he panics when we get lost. I've never seen anything like it. You know, he thinks we make a wrong turn, we're not going to get back to our life. Somebody's moved into our house and is wearing his thermometer. I never panic when I get lost. I just change where it is that I want to go. And he puts so much pressure pressure on me. I think that's why I make mistakes. We'll be driving along, he'll go, okay, which way do we go? Quick, come on, quick. East or west, come on. I can't do everything. I say, I don't know, it looks like we go up. We do get really lost, though. I have to say, we were driving in Europe. You don't go down the wrong street in Europe. You go in the wrong country. We were in Germany, driving in Germany, and all of a sudden everyone was French. And we didn't know why. We thought we'd found a fancy part of Germany. I'll tell you what happened so this doesn't happen to you. I thought they were toll booths, and they were the border. Yes, and the guard stopped us. But I guess that'll happen when you throw quarters at them. I think my worst map reading mistake was when I insisted there was a bridge over this body of water, and it turned out to be the L in lake. My husband was stopping strangers on the street saying, how old would you be before you knew this wasn't a bridge? That's another reason I'm afraid of having children. I don't know about his temperament. He's not a real patient person. He's already told me he's never changing a diaper, which worries me because I leave town for a week at a time. And of course, we've been discussing a nanny, but he's been lobbying for a young Swedish exchange student. And I'm kind of leaning more towards a heavy-set woman from one of the Baltic states. Is there anyone in the front I can talk to who's had a child who's going to make me feel better about the whole experience? Anyone? Oh, there you are. Oh, what's your name? Diane, and Diane's a beautiful blonde woman, too. I suffer from something, Diane, I have to tell you, paroxyspemophobia. Every time I've ever gotten near a beautiful blonde woman, something of mine has disappeared. Jobs, boyfriends. Once an Angora sweater leaped right off my body. So, Diane, how many children? You have 2 children, and they're here with you tonight. You're a close family. We're not. That must be nice. Once every 5 years, we have a family picnic. Wherever we all are, we eat outside. Now the question, Diane, did you have natural childbirth? No, thank you, Diane. I'm not going to either. I'm not Danielle Boone. To me, natural childbirth is backwards. Everyone takes drugs nowadays except when they need them. I have a friend who's having real problems because she's pregnant and her husband wants to have natural childbirth and she doesn't. So he's been going to those classes by himself. Did you breastfeed? Think back. Well, I'm not going to. It's for the kids' health, though, really, because I've put this off so long, I'm sure my milk has expired. Is this your husband, Diane? Yes, and what's your name? Neil, did you go into the room with Diane when she had a baby? No. Thank you, Neil, because men are getting real into that now, and I'm not sure that they're so helpful in there. Well, my friend's husband went in and took movies. He brought the video camera in. I just don't know when you'd want to watch these movies. When Freddy Krueger isn't quite scary enough? And I asked my husband if he'd be in the room with me, and you know what he said? It would have to be a big room. And there would have to be a bar at one end. But that's how men participate now. They come into the room with you and they say, breathe. Is that really sharing the experience? If I ever have a baby, I want my husband on the table next to me, at least getting his legs waxed. One bikini wax, he'd be dead. And my family's been putting so much pressure on me to have a child. My grandmother keeps asking me, when am I going to be a great-grandmother? And I keep asking her, why, if I have a baby, do you become great? I don't follow the logic. I have a baby, she's great, my mother's grand, and I'm grounded. And my parents came to visit us, and they always give me a hard time about it. Well, the first thing that happened when my mother walked into the house, she looked around and said, "Where's the plant?" I said, "It ran away." And then, of course, she started in on where's my grandchild. She wants a grandchild so badly. She does. She started to bribe me. She said, "What can I give you to make you have a child?" I said, "You wait here. I'll write you up an estimate." I just don't know, though, if I'd be a good mother. I mean, those tough questions kids ask. What would I say when my kid came to me and asked me, "Mom, why is my name Nefertiti?" I guess I'd say, "Son, I met a painter named Jethro. And why is Grandma belly dancing? And why does Grandpa wear a Cub Scout uniform? Why doesn't Daddy have any hair on his leg? I guess I'd say, all things happen for the best. Gotta go. Gotta go. Thank you very, very much for coming. Good night.
I love Australia, except I have a big problem with the beaches. The girls all go topless on the beach. In Australia, that's just the way it is. And of course, the guys, you'd love it, but I am American. I'd never done that. I was afraid. Things crossed my mind like, I don't know, they've never been in the sun. They might catch fire. I tried it once, but I was really careful. I wore lots of sunscreen. I taped the bottles to my body. And everyone said, "Rita, you know, you have to go nude sunbathing because then you don't get tan lines." What good is a tan without tan lines? How do you show it off to your friends? What do you say? "Look, compared to my eyeball, look how tan I am." And too much sun is supposed to be bad for you. It's supposed to make your skin leathery and wrinkly and old. I used to look at those gorgeous 16-year-old girls just baking themselves on the beach and think, fry, you homewreckers, fry. I don't like getting older, and I don't plan to grow old gracefully either. I plan to have facelifts till my ears meet. I'm a little afraid of plastic surgeons. I was going to have my nose fixed. This is a true story, but I was sitting in this guy's office, and on his walls there were all these pictures by Picasso. I started thinking my nose may not be perfect, but it's centered. I could wake up, it could be in a guitar. I never liked the way I looked when I was growing up. I have curly hair. I always wanted straight hair. I used to ask my mother to iron my hair. She hated to iron. She used to put me in the hamper and leave me there for weeks. Nobody's ever happy with what they have, though. People with curly hair want straight, and people with straight want curly, and bald people want everyone to be blind. I was adopted when I was growing up because I don't look anything like anyone in my family. I look a little like my grandmother now because I have brown hair and blue eyes, and she has blue hair and brown eyes. That's my mother's mother. She's a very tough cookie. Really, she buried 3 husbands. 2 of them were just napping. I'm an only child, which means I was very overprotected. My tricycle had 7 wheels. And a driver. My parents wouldn't even push me on the swing. They wouldn't. They'd just sit me on the swing and run back and forth and say, it looks similar to this. For me either. It wasn't that no one asked me to the prom. It was that no one would tell me where it was. Sexually, I was very ignorant. Other kids were covering up their hickeys. I was painting mine on. Everyone said, what does Rita have on her forehead? Because for the tryouts we had to write our own cheer, and I don't get that excited. I wrote, if we win, we win. If we lose, we lose. Really, you could deal with it. I didn't go to college. I moved to New York to be in show business, and I love New York. I had an apartment right off Central Park. I couldn't actually see the park, but if I concentrated, I could hear the screams for help. My parents worried about me, so they went out and bought me a dog for protection. You know what they bought me? They bought me a Lhasa Apso. I guess they thought my ankles were in danger. If you don't know what a Lhasa Apso is, I'll tell you. It's a very small dog with lots of hair, and it's very difficult to tell which end is which. I was very upset when I found out I'd been trying to teach her to sit by shoving her head to the floor. She was very nervous, and that was my fault, too. When she was a puppy, I left her alone sleeping with a clock wrapped up in a blanket. You're supposed to do that. They think it's a mother's heartbeat. I've forgotten I set the alarm. Every time the phone rang, I had to scrape her off the ceiling. You know, the smartest dogs are poodles. Poodles, and I read that they're getting smarter. Soon they're going to be able to talk. And they're going to say, stop cutting my hair like that. What are we doing? Those aren't haircuts, those are landscapes. I wonder if other dogs look at poodles and thinks they're members of a weird religious cult. If I were to get a dog again, I would get a seeing eye dog or a guard dog or a hunting dog. You know why? Because I don't have enough time to spend at home with my dog. I feel guilty. I just feel better if I had a dog that was involved in a career. I had lots of careers before show business got going. They weren't very challenging. I was a stewardess for a while on a helicopter. There were about 5, 6 people tops. I would say, would you like something to drink? You would? Then we're going to have to land. I had the most boring office job in the world. I used to clean the windows on the envelopes. Now I work for myself, which is great, except when I call in sick, I know I'm lying. I do love doing comedy, but you travel constantly. I'm always in hotels. I was in a Howard Johnson's once. Their slogan used to be, I'm not making it up, if it's not your mother, it must be Howard Johnson. That was their slogan. I was staying there. I called down for room service about 4 in the afternoon. I was hungry. They said, no, it'll spoil your dinner. The maid came in every morning. She said, clean up your room. As I was checking out, the lady behind the desk said, go ahead, leave. Doesn't matter. I'll be dead in a couple of weeks. Bought my own house. Well, I bought it last year when I was single. So you know what it had to say on the deed? Rita Rudner, a single woman. It looks so lonely. I said, can't you at least put I have lots of friends? I had to go get a mortgage by myself. That was scary. When I was first on my own, I didn't know anything about money. I used to sign my checks, love Rita. Everything gets so expensive when you buy a house. Really, my last credit card bill was so big before I opened it, I actually heard a drum roll. And I have problems with money. You know what I can never do? Ask for money back after I've loaned it to a friend, and they forget to return it. Isn't that tricky? I can never ask for it back. The most I can do is when I'm over their homes, break something of that approximate value. I have a small house. It has charm. I wish it had a window. And my husband and I live there now, and it's got 2 bedrooms, and the guest bedroom is really small, but it's still big enough so our parents can be comfortable if they come to stay, so we're making it smaller. Certain things I can't get used to about having my own house. I've never had my own washing machine before. I've always gone to laundromats, so I still sit in front of it. With a magazine and a gun. I've been trying to get a CD player, but I just can't bring myself to buy one until I have something in writing that says that's the last thing they're going to invent. I'm so glad you feel that way, because really, if I were to buy that and they'd invent something else, I could snap. I could become one of those people who wanders the streets mumbling to themselves. In fact, that's who I think all those people are. Those are the people who bought 8-track tapes. One part of my house I don't use all that often is the kitchen. So I'm not a good cook. I take after my mother. She was the worst. She once made carrot cake. She didn't grate the carrot. She baked them whole into the cave. She even left those green things hanging out of town. She said they're cake handles. The last thing I made was in high school. It was in home economics. I made a tuna casserole. I entered it in a science fair. I won. I combined tuna fish, cream of mushroom soup, and potato chips. I got electricity. Second prize went to a Japanese kid who made a robot who ate it. It died. I think I figured out why Japanese people are all so smart. You know why? Because they have to be to learn their language. It's very difficult. They have to be brilliant to learn how to write it. You've seen that writing. You know what must be very difficult, I was thinking? To be a skywriter in Japan. My husband cooks. Well, he doesn't really cook. He barbecues. That's different. Men will cook as long as there's danger involved. I'm trying to get him to eat healthier. It's not easy. He hates health food. He thinks health food is anything he finishes before the expiration date. I used to be a vegetarian, but I quit that because it has side effects. It does. I found myself sitting in my living room starting to lean towards the sunlight. I'm always on a diet. I have little tricks, little dieting tricks to help me. Like if I order a dessert, I'll only eat half of it. But sometimes if it's a good dessert, I'll order 2. My favorite diet is wear big shoulder pads that makes your hips look smaller. Don't you love shoulder pads? I wear them with everything, really, even strapless dresses. Sometimes I forget, though, and I get shoulder pad buildup. I do. Well, once I remember I put on a blouse that had shoulder pads, and then over that I put on a sweater that had shoulder pads. And then I topped that off with a jacket that had shoulder pads. I walked out of the house, my mailman tried to tackle me. I'm a little compulsive about my weight. I weigh myself every morning. What I do is I slowly lower myself down onto the scale while hanging from the shower curtain rod. And when I reach the weight I want to be, I black out. But my last boyfriend was a workout-aholic. I mean, he was in great shape. And you know what I found? Men who are really, really physically fit are really tired. They come home and they go to sleep and you get to look at them. And you think, gee, he looks good. He could only move. My husband's not real romantic, however. He was so scared about this whole marriage thing. He gave me this ring on the condition I wouldn't call it an engagement ring. I said, I'll call it a can opener, just give me the ring. And then I thought maybe I should go with him to get the ring, because you never know what they're going to come back with. And the worst thing you can say when someone gives you an engagement ring is, you wouldn't happen to have the receipt. He did great, though. I love my ring. It's an antique. It makes it that much more special to me knowing that someone didn't want it anymore. I love jewelry. I just don't think you should put it in your nose. You can if you want. It's a free country. But really, once you pierce your nose, no one will ever listen to anything you have to say again. You'll talk and people will just look at you and smile. and think, Jesus, that must have hurt. My dad was so happy I didn't marry a man who had a pierced ear. That's all he was concerned about. I think men who have a pierced ear are better prepared for marriage, really. Well, they've experienced pain and bought jewelry. My mom gave me some good advice, I think, when I got married. She said, just don't try to change him. Whatever's wrong with him, use it to your best advantage. Like my dad's sleepwalk. She never tried to change it. She just started handing him the vacuum cleaner. The proposal wasn't real romantic either. With my husband and I, you know what he did? Well, I'll tell you, he'd been drinking. It's the truth, so he didn't get down on his knees. He got up on his knees. Hard to say yes when they've got their shoes on their hands and they're pretending they're a seal. And he's younger than I am. I never thought that would happen, but, well, he's 2 years younger than he thinks I am. The old theory was marry an older man because they're more mature, but the new theory is men don't mature, marry a young one. We do get along great. We have a lot of fun. The only time we argue is in the car. We argue about when to put gas in the car. He has two beliefs in life, basically. He believes in God, and he believes that when the gas gauge is on empty, he still has a quarter of a tank. He thinks the E stands for, there's still some left. And our other problem is we're the two least handy people in the world, and we married each other. We have to call someone over to unwrap soap. I bought a TV table that you had to assemble, 4 pieces of wood and some screws. I came back. It was as if there had been drunken monkeys in the room. There was glue on the ceiling. One window was smashed. His clothing was in shreds. I said, I guess it put up quite a fight. And of course he was proud of what he had made. Yes, he said, look, firewood. But we need firewood because we have a fireplace now. All those romantic evenings we sit in front of it trying to get it lit. We can't do that either. Our neighbor's house caught fire. We went next door. We said, how did you do that? He came home with a staple gun the other day. I knew I'd be calling an ambulance shortly. But it's okay. He loves his staple gun. He staple guns everything now. There is nothing loose in our home. There are a few major changes. For instance, now we have to bring the food to the cat. It's a joke, don't get upset. But I could say it because I don't like cats. Thank you. I think they're a waste of fur. It's just that you never know what a cat is thinking. It's usually thinking, if I could just jump on her head and ruin her life. So now I have a house and I'm married and you know what's next. I don't know if it's going to happen. I get such family pressure about children. Like my grandmother keeps asking me, when am I going to be a great-grandmother? I keep saying, I don't know. I guess as soon as you do something extraordinary. I'm American. He's English. What will our children be like? I guess they'll be rude but disgusted by their own behavior. I don't think I can have natural childbirth. It hurts. And I don't know if my husband will come in with me, and do that whole bit. I asked him if he'd be in the room with me when I had a baby, and you know what he said? It would have to be a big room. And there would have to be a bar at one end. But that's how men participate now. They come into the room with you, and they say, breathe. Is that really sharing the experience? If I ever have a baby, I want my husband on the table next to me, at least getting his legs waxed. One bikini wax, he'd be dead. And our only big problem is he doesn't want to wear a wedding band. I know, so we compromised. I said it's okay, he doesn't have to wear a wedding band. He could just wear our wedding pictures on his forehead. I knew that staple gun would come in handy. Thank you very much. Good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome me. Thank you very much. And thank you for being here tonight. This is a very exciting night for me because I got to buy a new dress. Do you like it? Yeah? It's by my favorite designer. His name is On Sale. Also, it's exciting because it's the night of my new HBO special and it's my wedding anniversary. I've been married for 7 years. I can't believe it either. Time flies when you're driving someone crazy. Yep. Just 7 years ago today, he looked at me and said, I do. And I looked at him and said, why did you say it like that? My in-laws were just visiting from England, and we had a good time, except they wanted to go to Disneyland, and we had to take them. Older people have different needs at Disneyland than younger people. My mother-in-law said, oh, look, there's Mickey. Maybe he knows where we can get a gin and tonic. There are certain things that can never be agreed upon in a marriage, like the temperature. I'm always cold. He's always hot, and my feet are always freezing. That's the nightly weather report from our bedroom. It's a very serious problem, really, if I turn the heat up high enough to heat my feet. I'll cook my husband. There's a new car that addresses that problem. Have you seen the new dual climate control car? We test drove one. I turned my side up to 80. He turned his side down to 30. Halfway around the block, clouds began to form. There's certain things that I don't understand about him. I'll never understand. For instance, whenever we go on a long trip in the car, he hates to stop to let me go to the bathroom. I don't know why. All I know is if we're going for a long trip in the car, for 3 days before that, I'm off liquid. He'll say, we can't get off the highway here. We won't be able to get back on. Are there places like that in America? Where if you get off the highway, you have to live there? And there are things he can't understand about me. I have to talk to my girlfriend every day on the phone. And he'll say, why do you have to talk to her again today? You just talked to her yesterday. What could you possibly have to tell her? I say, well, for one thing, I have to tell her you just said that. He has one friend he talks to every 2 years for 7 seconds. I say, how's Jim? He says, I don't know, I didn't ask. I didn't feel it was any of my business. He hates my handbag because it's messy. It offends him, and he tries to clean it out, and I won't let him because I like it like that. I do. I like the loose change in the bottom, mingling with the dirty lint. It makes my quarters smell fresh. There are things that are wrong with our marriage. Neither one of us is handy. We had a flat tire. We looked so pathetic standing on the side of the road. A little old lady stopped and changed the tire for us. And this is so important. This is a warning I have for you. Before you marry someone, do you know that you have to make sure that one of you kills bugs? It's so important. We've married each other. Neither one of us performs that function. A bug walks in our house. We don't know what to do. We just stand there and stare at it till it becomes so uncomfortable it leaves. I think there are secrets to a good marriage. For one thing, I never say, "I told you so." I hum it. I go, he doesn't know what I'm doing, and it makes me feel much better. And he's not allowed to say, "while you're up." Men love that phrase. While you're up. And you're on your way to the kitchen. Why don't you wash the car? Little bits of your brain start to go when you're married. I suffer from mustard Alzheimer's. Whenever I go to the grocery store, I can't remember if I bought a jar of mustard last time, or if I need a jar of mustard. We have 800 jars of mustard. And he suffers from something lots of men suffer from: refrigerator blindness. He can't see anything in a refrigerator. He'll stare in it for hours. He won't move anything in the refrigerator. If he doesn't see it, it isn't there. He'll say, "Where's the tuna fish?" I'll say, "It's behind the milk." "Move the milk." He'll say, "I don't want to move the milk." Because for some bizarre reason, if he moves the milk and the tuna fish isn't there, the milk won. And men hate to be wrong. I'm wrong all the time when I say it. "I'm sorry. I was wrong. I'm sorry. I was wrong." It's so easy. The closest my husband gets is, "I'm sorry. You were wrong." I told him he had to get more in touch with his feminine side. He said he was trying to, but it was always on the phone with his girlfriend. Your mail changes after you get married. Nobody writes to you anymore. You just get bills and junk mail. Tons of junk mail. They're so desperate. They'll write anything on it to make you open it. Urgent. Top secret. I got one that said, "We have your parents." And I get pleas from magazines to take them back. Once you don't reorder a magazine, they'll never stop bothering you for the rest of your life. I finally wrote a letter to Newsweek, and I said, "Look, it's over." I sent them a picture of Time. I said, "This is who I'm seeing now." Relationships do get complicated when you get older. I have various friends in various states of relationships. One of my girlfriends, she's so determined to stay faithful to her boyfriend. She refuses to sleep with her husband. I read a survey. Most couples fight about money. We're lucky we don't fight about money. We think you should spend it because you put it in the bank, and the bank goes under, and then you feel really stupid. And do you know why banks go under? Bad investments. I didn't know they were going to take my money and make investments. I think if they're going to do that, they should ask me first. I do. I think they should call me up and say, "Hello, Rita. This is the bank. We're thinking of loaning some money to an idiot. Are you you in. We have our jobs that we've divided that we do around the house. I take out the garbage. You know why? Because the first week we were married, I accidentally took out the garbage. You have to be so careful what you do that first week. I recommend sitting very, very still and saying, while you're up, and I can't take the garbage out anymore because we've switched to recycling, and I can't do it right. I try so hard. I put the bottles in one can, and then the cans and the leaves, and I put it all out on the street, and the garbage person left a great big red tag and said, "You didn't do this right. We won't take it." I'm currently attending garbage night school. You know what I really like about recycling, though? I don't know my neighbors' names. I don't know what they do for a living, but I know how much they drink. And my husband does the accounting in the family. I'm not good at math. I've never been good at math. I accepted it from a very early age. My teacher would hand me a math test. I just write on it, "I'm going to marry someone who can do this." I'm not saying women are bad at math. That's sexist. I'm saying I am bad at math. That's true. I have my own methods of accounting. I'll give you an example. I bought a suitcase, all leather, $300, but it was on sale for $150. I really needed a suitcase. I figured I would have spent $100 on a cheap suitcase, so in my mind I've only spent $50. I also saved $100 on a dress that I bought on sale. So I put the money I saved against the money I spent, and really by buying that suitcase and that dress, I made $50. I used to do the checkbook in the family, but my husband insisted that the checkbook match the bank statement exactly. He needed that in order to be happy. I didn't need that in order to be happy. When I was doing the checkbook, I was happy if one of my numbers was included in their number. And he'll sit there for hours. It doesn't matter how long it takes him. He will sit there until the checkbook matches the bank statement exactly. Once he sat there for about 11 hours. He wouldn't move. Finally, he said, "Rita, come here. What's this plus 50? I showed him the suitcase. We're trying to do different things in our marriage. We took a cruise this year because friends of ours took a cruise, and they had a great time. It depends on the boat. Did you know that you have to get on a good boat? They've got the fantasy and the ecstasy. We were on the hysterectomy. I'm just not a daredevil. I'm trying to be more carefree. I really am. I'm going to water ski someday. As soon as I can mentally separate it from being dragged by a boat. I almost flew in a helicopter. I did, but you know what you have to do before you get in a helicopter? You have to tell your weight. I was sitting in the helicopter, and I looked around, and I thought, you know, If everyone is lying like I'm lying, we're going down. I'm afraid of planes. I don't trust the oxygen mask. I don't think it's going to save my life. Do you? The little orange cup attached to that bag that's full of nothing? Maybe I'm cynical. I don't even think it's an oxygen mask. I think it's more to just muffle the scream. I don't come from a very brave family. That's my problem. My dad is a lawyer. My dad's a lawyer who doesn't like to argue. We weren't a wealthy family. The other guy would state his case. My dad would stand up and say, he has a point. My mom just went back to work. She opened up a clothing store. She's having such a good time because the dresses come in and she just marks them down and buys them. My parents were strange. When I was growing up, my dad was never allowed in the kitchen. He'd have to stand outside the doorway. And my mother would say, what do you want? And he'd say, a glass of juice, please. And she'd say, stay there. I'll get it for you. And he'd just stand there and look through the electric fence. I'd say, Mom, he's a lawyer. He can get himself a glass of juice. And she'd say, no, he can't. It's behind the milk. We always had two sets of dishes when I was growing up. We had the everyday set of dishes and the good set of dishes. Did you have those? And the everyday set of dishes were to be used every day. And the good set of dishes were to be used under no circumstances. We never met anyone important enough to use those dishes. And my mother was such a bad cook, she didn't deserve good dishes. She once made this rice. You can't undercook it, you can't overcook it. She lost it. She once made carrot cake. She didn't grate a carrot. She baked them whole into the cake. She even left those green things hanging out the side. She said they were cake handles. Most turkeys taste better the day after. My mother's tasted better the day before. That's why I don't cook. She didn't teach me. I like to create my own recipes. I created a dish that was not only delicious the other day, it was chewy. Spaghetti with gummy bears. We just started eating Japanese food, and I really like it, but I have a warning for you here, and that warning is about wasabi. See, a few of you know. You'll know I'm telling the truth. It's Japanese hot horseradish. There's nothing hotter than this. It's light green. It doesn't look hot. It looks calm and tranquil and friendly. And the Japanese people put a great big glop of it on your tray. They don't tell you what it is. It doesn't come with hazard cones around it or anything. And I thought it was avocado. And I love avocado. So I took a great big bite of it, all by itself. And I actually saw my own nostrils. was a vegetarian for a while, but I quit because that has side effects. I found myself sitting in my living room starting to lean towards the sunlight. And you know what I've noticed, because we eat out so often, waiters and waitresses are becoming much nicer and more caring. They are. I'll give you an example. I used to pay my check. They'd say, thank you. Remember that? That graduated into, have a nice day. That's now escalated into, you take care of yourself now. The other day I paid my check. The waiter said, don't put off that mammogram. To eat is so much easier when you're married, because if a piece of food gets in the wrong place on the other person, you just reach over, you take it off. If you're on a date and a piece of food wanders into the wrong spot, you just have to avert your eyes and hope an act of God takes it away. And we knew we wanted to be together, but we weren't sure about the wedding thing. He even gave me this ring on the condition I wouldn't call it an engagement ring. I said, I'll call it a can opener. Just give me the ring. I love my ring. He gave it to me on Christmas, and I was so excited, but sometime before he dies, he owes me a present. Always trying to combine. They think we're so happy we're not paying attention. And that's left over from my childhood, because my whole life, my parents combined my birthday with Christmas. And you know how frustrating that is for a child, especially because I was born in July. I was shopping for my friend's little girl's birthday, and you know, toys have changed since I was a kid. We have Dr. Barbie now. Have you seen Dr. Barbie? She's wearing a little lab coat and has a little stethoscope, but she's still wearing a short, tight skirt and 9-inch heels. Evidently, she's a doctor, but she's still a prostitute on the side. My husband's very easy to buy for. He loves technology. I bought him a telescope. We couldn't find the moon. We could see the moon with our naked eye. But when we looked behind the very expensive telescope, the moon would disappear. Finally, we did find it, and it was interesting, the nooks and crannies and different terrains, and then we realized we were looking at our neighbor's bald head. Some technology is so advanced, it's scary. Have you seen the new VCR Plus, where you just program in the number of what you want to watch, and it turns on your TV, it tapes, it turns it off? It's amazing. We got the very latest one, the new VCR Opinion Plus. Programmed in what we wanted to watch, came back home, turned on the television. It said, I enjoyed it, I didn't feel it was for you. And also, my husband likes medical equipment because he's a great big old hypochondriac. I tell him he should have married a nurse. She could take care of him. I'm a comedian. I can only make fun of him. He gets diseases that don't exist. He makes them up. They're his own very special personal diseases. He gets a disease that's called left. Everything hurts on his left side. And he walks around the house very slowly and says, I'm sorry. can't really move very fast today. Have less. Luckily, I've discovered a cure for less, but it involves a baseball bat. And it gives him right. And heaven help me when he gets a cold. There are 3 stages to a married cold. The first stage is, I'm getting a cold. The second stage is, I have a cold. The third stage is, you know, you were the one who gave me this cold. Doctors still don't know what to do about colds. So now when I get a cold, I sit in a draft till it develops into something that they have a cure for. Doctors don't know much. I had the flu. I went to the doctor. He said, drink loads of water. That's what he said. I said, well, I don't think that's going to be possible because I'm going on a long trip with my husband. Aspirin is the most amazing drug to me because you can take it for anything. You can take it if your head hurts. You can take it if your foot hurts. How does it know which way to go? I guess that's why you have to take 2. Men are very confident people. My husband's so confident, he thinks that when he watches sports on television, that if he concentrates, he can help the team. And if they're in trouble, he coaches them from our living room. And if they're really in trouble, I have to get off the phone in case they call him. Men and women definitely like different sports. He loves to fight. I don't like them. I worry not about the fighters. They can take care of themselves. I worry about that great big jeweled belt they fight over. I worry about what they're going to wear that with. We went to the fight, and I didn't know. It's not just the main fight you're going to. It's all the preliminary fights before the main fight. The earlier you get there, the less important the fight. We got there very early. It was the Rosenblatts arguing about where to send their son to college. I'm not a confident person, and I did a terrible thing, and I'm not proud of it. When my husband and I first got together, I had a thing. I didn't want him to see me without makeup. I waited till he went to sleep. Then I'd tiptoe into the bathroom. See, I'm not the only one. I'd tiptoe into the bathroom, and I'd wash everything off. And then I'd get up before he got up. And then I'd sneak things back on again. I was exhausted. But I was beautiful. Everything was going great till he had a nightmare, woke up at 4 a.m. and he switched on a light. And I said, anything I can do? And he said, who are you? Women, we have so much going on. Men, you're so lucky. You get up, you shave, you get dressed, you go. We get up, the procedures begin. We have so many layers we have to cleanse and tone and moisturize and apply sunscreen and foundation and powder and blush. Then we're ready to start our eyes. You shouldn't yell at us that we get places late. You should applaud us that we get any place at all. It's hard being a woman. It's like being a female impersonator every single day. I like makeup, but you know what I like more than makeup? The free gift. Women are all nodding and men are all looking at me like I'm crazy. I have to tell you about the free gift. Are you ready? Okay, here goes. If you spend $25 on something you don't want, you get 5 tiny items that you don't need. And if you're really lucky, they come in a tote bag that you won't use. I buy any cream that says it's going to make me younger. I bought this new wrinkle cream. It was guaranteed to keep my skin wrinkle-free. I don't know what's in it. I think it's the same stuff they put in sheets. I bought a new lipstick guaranteed to stay on for 24 hours. Got it on my teeth. I did another horrible thing that I'm not proud of because I was insecure. The first time I sat on my husband's lap, I cheated. See, I'm not the only one. And I left a little bit of the weight on my leg. And he'd say, sit back. You could sit back. And I'd say, I'm sitting back. I'm just really light. Then I lost my balance and I did sit back and he started to cry. It's very hard to stay in shape, though. Every morning I set my alarm an hour early so I can exercise for an hour before I have to be any place. And every morning the alarm rings and I realize I was only kidding. I like to watch the muscle men, though, on television. Have you seen them competing in the lumpy competition? I like to watch them because they can pose and smile at the same time. I joined a gym, and then they changed all the machines to computers, and I couldn't work any of them, and I felt really dumb. And I was standing on this machine. I didn't know how to program it, and this really happy lady came over. Her name was Kiki. And she said, I'll help you. Do you want to jog up the mountain, or do you just want to walk up the mountain? I said, well, Kiki. If possible, I would like to avoid the mountain. And now they tell you how many calories you're burning. That couldn't be more depressing, could it? I'm standing there in a pool of sweat, with legs like noodles. I've burned 60 calories. That should take care of that peanut I ate in 1962. And I buy anything that says low fat. I love low fat. They're not real specific. They don't say lower than what? Lower than a great big old cup of fat? Liposuction sounded good, but then I read they can accidentally vacuum out internal organs that you're using. And I don't want to be disgusting, but they've got these new techniques. They can suck the fat out of one part of your body and then put it into other parts. Boy, that's a bad idea. I want them to suck the fat out of my body and put it into Cindy Crawford. The easier, the better. They've got this new cream. Have you seen the new cream? You just rub it on your thighs, If it really worked, wouldn't it make your hands thinner? And my husband hates to exercise, too, but he likes the equipment. He bought a bike. He just couldn't buy the bike. He had to buy the knee pads and the elbow pads and the goggles and the stationary bike. We've been busy, though. We bought a new house. I didn't really want a new house, but it came with a free lipstick. I love saying it. This is our new house. This is our new house. Like we own the house. We don't own the house. The bank owns the house. Which is normal, I guess, but they've started to invite people over. We had to move after the earthquake. Everything was gone. The only dishes we had left were in the dishwasher, which leads me to believe the safest place to be during an earthquake is in a dishwasher. We have these two giant dishwashers in our bedroom now. My friend's little boy had the best reaction to the earthquake. The walls shook, the paintings flew across the room, and my friend ran into her little boy's room to see if he was okay, and he was lying there very still in bed and said, "I didn't do it." We just got a new high-tech burglar alarm. They're hard to work, those alarms. We came back home the first day, and my husband couldn't remember the code to turn it off. And the siren started going, and the police came, and he was too embarrassed to admit he'd forgotten the code, so he turned himself in. You have to have protection, though. I bought that little pepper spray. Have you seen that? It's great. I use it on steak. And I've already seized control of the bathroom. I used military techniques. I infiltrated the areas around the bathtub with all of my things, my shampoos, bath gels, conditioners, etc. Then I marched into the area above the sink and surrounded that with all of my things. Then I stormed the area underneath the sink, and I occupied that with all of my things. And one day he just walked in and surrendered. And now he shaves in the backyard with a hose. He only had a toothbrush and a razor in the bathroom. But they were really in my way. I think we have a good relationship. I get the good bathroom, he gets the good car. Don't you think that's fair? Because men love their cars. What's your name right here in the front?
Clark.
Hello, Clark. How are you tonight? You love your car, Clark? Yes, Clark loves his car. What kind of car do you have, Clark?
A BMW.
BMW. Ask me what kind of car I have, Clark.
What kind of car do you have?
I have a white car. That's all I need to know, Clark. It goes with everything. Not only is it a white car, it's a dirty white car. It's so dirty, I'm proud of it. Most people pay extra for those dark tinted windows. Mine are organic. My husband just got a convertible. He loves it. He's so excited about it. It's always been his dream. And I'm very excited about it, too, because it's also always been a dream of mine to arrive every place looking like John King. Very hard on your hair, those convertibles. That's why most men who drive them are bald. Their hair has just blown right off. I think men love their cars because it's a place where they can really swear. Boy, can my husband swear inside of that car. I told you he's English. Outside of the car, he's a perfect English gentleman. Inside of the car, he's a sailor with Tourette's syndrome. knows that's my downfall. He'll come shopping with me, but he requires one thing in a ladies' clothing store. He requires a ladies' clothing store that has a chair, right? You should see his eyes light up when he sees the chair. Sometimes we go into a ladies' clothing store and there's a chair, but there's already a comatose man sitting in the chair. I think they should construct some type of bleacher formation. Men will stay longer if they feel like they're at a game. I like catalog shopping. You just order what you see, you pick up the phone and it comes, but sometimes the dress looks really great in the catalog and it comes and it's really ugly, so I have to send it back and I write on the box, just looking. Just looking. Those are the two most important words in your shopping life. You look directly at your saleswoman and you say, just looking. And that neutralizes her. And she goes in search of other prey. I'm bad at returning things. I'm always afraid the saleswomen are going to yell at me, so now whenever I return something, I wear a disguise. Who's going to yell at the Pope? I wonder if anyone ever does yell at the Pope. Do you think anyone ever says, you know, I have just about had it with that holier-than-thou attitude of yours? My husband likes me to wear tight things. I hate tight things. We'll be going out to dinner and he'll say, I don't want to wear a tie. Please don't make me wear a tie. I can't talk. I can't drink. It gives me less. I say, okay, don't wear a tie. What should I wear? How about that iron bustier I bought for you? And I never criticize anything he's wearing. He says, how do I look? I say, fantastic. Because he doesn't want me to criticize. He doesn't want to change. He just wants me to say fantastic, and that's what I say. He came out once. He was wearing so many different patterns, it looked like he was moving towards me. He said, how do I look? I said, fantastic. He won't try anything on. Even shoes, he'll just hold the box up to the light and say, yeah, these fit. And I do have a little announcement of sorts tonight, because we have been married 7 years, and it was inevitable. We've begun to long for the pitter-patter of little feet. So we bought a doll. Thank you. Well, it's cheaper, and you get more feet. I love my dog, and he's not a child substitute. At least that's what his pediatrician says. We got him from a pound in Las Vegas, and I was a little nervous about what a dog from Vegas would be like. But it turned out he's just like any other little dog, except he stays up really late. And he smokes. He's a mixed breed. We've always had mixed breeds. When I was growing up, we had a Doberman Shepherd. Very confused dog. Kept attacking blind people. And my husband has never had a dog before. You know, men teach dogs different tricks than women teach dogs. I didn't know this. My husband came home. I said, look, I taught him to sit. I came home. He said, look, if you put him on the roof and light his tail, he jumps into the pool. friends, everyone has had a baby. Even my friend, the lesbian librarian, has become artificially inseminated by a gay podiatrist. Boy, there's a kid who's going to have some sensible shoes. It's natural childbirth that scares me. I think before you have natural childbirth, you should find out how big the baby's going to be. 3 pounds, natural childbirth. Anything over that, heroin. Because I have a friend, she's teeny. She's 4'6", and her baby weighed 18 pounds. She didn't have a cesarean. She had dynamite. They're taking bets on who walks first, her or the baby. I have another friend who's 11 months pregnant. They took a sonogram. The kid has a phone and a TV, and he's not moving. I have another friend, they have 4 boys, and she decided to try one more time to have a girl. They bought that book on how to have a girl, but I don't think it's a very good book. They did everything they were supposed to do. He spun around 3 times. She wore a helmet. They got a boy who likes ballet and headgear. And my mother is petrified that I'm going to postpone this too long, and later I'm not going to really want to have a baby, and then I'm not going to be able to, and then, boy, am I going to be sorry. I don't think so. You know why? I read a great article. If worse comes to worse, I get too old. So easy now, I could just freeze my eggs. And later on, when I'm ready, I can get pregnant in a dish. That's how easy it is. So I told this to my mother in order to calm her fears. And this look of horror came over her face. And she said, "Not a good dish." Well, thank you all for being such a great audience. Does anyone have any questions? Or any answers? Or would anyone care for a mint? You can just yell it out. You don't have to raise your hand, yes?
Yeah, I was just wondering.
Oh, standing up and everything. You get an A.
I was just wondering what you think of our McCullough Theater, and will you come back and see us in Palm Springs real soon?
I will come to see, I love the theater, and I will come to see you as soon as I have a new act. Thank you very much. I like Palm Springs, but it does get a little hot here in the summer. I was here last summer. It was 700 degrees. And people still sunbathe. I don't know how they do it. There was a woman by the pool. I could tell she was done because her belly button had popped up. Any other questions? Pardon? Yes, you knew about the movie in Temecula. Excellent. Yes, we finished it. I think it's out in the fall. It stars Jack Lemmon and Dudley Moore and Richard Lewis, and I accidentally wrote a part for myself. I don't know how that happened. And if you go see it, I think I'm going to go clean all the movie theaters myself because I hate dirty movie theaters. I had to sit and watch a movie twice once just because I couldn't get my feet unstuck. Any other questions? Yes? Oh. O.J. who? The trial's getting kind of long, isn't it? A little slow. I think Judge Ito should sit behind some drums. I like Marcia Clark, though. Don't you like her? Isn't she? She's a good role model for women, but even Marcia has trouble combining her professional self with her feminine self. And yes, she does. Have you seen her? Your Honor, that is an egregious outrage of justice. The people are disgusted. Anything else? No? Well, you've been a great audience. Thank you so much. And sometimes people ask me if my husband minds that I tell jokes about our relationship in my act, and no, he doesn't. To answer that question, we're very happy. I'm very lucky. And today, I guess it's because our anniversary, because he's not a sentimental guy. He looked at me and said, you know, I really love you. I know, I couldn't believe it either. And I looked at him and said, why did you say it like that? Thank you very, very much. Good night. While you're up, and you're on your way to the car, why don't you walk the dog? Now, this is my little doggy Bonkers, who's named after my grandfather, who's crazy. And, he went to the hairdresser's today. He's come here. He's had a little Rod Stewart accident. Come, Bonkers, come look at the camera. Over here. Okay, and he's been practicing something he really wants to say to you. Come, one sec. Bonkers, sit. Sit. Good boy. Bonkers, Bonkers. Say HBO. Bonkers. Bonkers, say HBO. Good boy. Bonkers, say it. Bonkers, come here. He's shy. Bonkers, say HBO. Come on, look at me. Bonkers, say thank you. Bonkers, well, try to say something. Say thank you. Good boy. Almost. Wait. Give me my boy. Come on, let's try one more time. Bonkers, sit. Good boy. Bonkers, this is so wrong of you. Come over here. Sit right here. Good boy. Oh, good boy. Okay. Say HBO. Good boy. Almost. Say HBO. Bonkers, say HBO. Good boy. Say HBO. Yeah!